Do you guys hear any of that? Anyone? Anyone at all? Insidious Chapter 3 is directed by this guy, Lee Winnell from Saw. So James Wan did not want to direct this movie. Instead, he directed Furious 7. And it sometimes feels uncomfortable when a movie that becomes a franchise is now directed by another person. And sometimes that creates some problems. Did the same thing happen to Insidious 3? Let's find out. So this movie stars Stefanie Scott and Lin Shaye as Elise. And this movie is about a teenage girl, played by Scott, who lost her mother and tries to communicate with her spirit to human. But something goes terribly wrong as a creature starts to terrorize her, and it's Lin Shaye to the rescue to cast this monster down to the fiery pits of hell. And that's it. Now, to be honest, when this movie was coming out, I wasn't fully intrigued. The first movie was pretty scary and good. The second one was meh. And now this one came out and you're not sure where this is going. You got the Paranormal Activity franchise. It's now in the shitter at this point. So many horror franchises have this trend of being good to absolute garbage. So does Insidious match this category? Well, as a matter of fact, no, not at all. This is a pretty scary film, almost as great as It Follows. I'm a little shocked. I mean, this film was able to do things that horror films are not doing today. The suspense for the most part was correct, the visual aspects, it's really great, and there were some parts where I absolutely flinched. First, you got the usual jump scares, because all horror movies need jump scares, right? But the scares in this movie are just done right, at least for the most part. There are no things flying at you, it wasn't abused like in The Woman in Black 2, it was done at the right time, and it had the suspense, which is another thing that this film has. Now, the creature in the film, you have no idea what this is. Most of the time, he's in the shadows and you cannot see him properly. The scene gets quiet, then he's there, and you jump. There was one scene where the camera was pointing at the creature's legs, just walking around the room, there's no music playing. Then there are scenes where the creature is just standing there, no music, and it works, well executed, and nerve-jangling. There was one point where I felt like this film was following the exact formula of Halloween, the film. It's that good. Then you get to the moments where the characters are in different dimensions of some sort, then the visual aspects and the creepiness of the dimensions is just right there. And that is usually the best part in the Insidious films. It works in Insidious, but doesn't really work in the new Poltergeist movie. Too much fake CGI. Now, aside from the creepiness in the movie, the acting is done really well. The girl in the movie did really wonderful, and you sometimes feel sorry for her going through this. She just wants to hear from her mother, but instead she got a rotten apple, and now she has to get rid of that stink because it's tormenting her. There are some human elements in this film towards the end. Towards the end, there was some scene with her which may make you choke and feel emotional for a moment. She also has this relationship with her dad, and it's well established in this film. It's pretty okay. And then you got Lin Shaye, and oh man, this woman did really well. She's the one who always put these ghosts in their place and solved the problems. Getting rid of these creatures and parasites is what she calls them. Now in this movie, something happens to her and she's kind of in a low point. But she eventually gets her shit together and stands up to these parasites and ghosts. There was this one scene where she had this come at me bro attitude towards this ghost attacking her, and she says this one-liner which I find pretty funny. So her acting is always great throughout the 3 films. And she did a really good job in this one. As a matter of fact, this is a really good directed film, with some problems. The creature for some reason doesn't have his own origin, just like in the other 2 films. We don't know anything about this thing. All we know is that it's bad and needs to be get rid of. That's it. I mean, come on! There were also a couple of scenes that could have been a little quicker. But other than that, this is a really good prequel. Yeah, it's a prequel. Forgot to say that. This film takes place before the events of the first movie. So if you're a fan of Insidious, then give this one a go because there's some pretty good scares. For a horror film that has a third sequel, this is well impressive and promising and deserves a watch. Insidious Chapter 3 gets 7 ghosts out of 10. So, that is my review of Insidious Chapter 3. Thank you for watching. More reviews on the way.
Tiptoe through the tulips.